all the post-game breakdown is available in last night's scrum. I kind of want to take some different angles this morning and just talk generally about how difficult this stretch has been for you and your club. Where does this stack up in terms of what you've dealt with in the past?
Well, as you know, footy certainly been in the American League a little bit longer than you probably would want to be, but at the end of the day, I probably haven't been through this much adversity with the number of players out and PTOs needed to fill a roster, and it's frustrating. There's no doubt about it. At the end of the day, you can't make excuses, and you got to do the best job you can as a staff to prepare what you have available to you, and do the best to try and get 2 points. Because ultimately in the American League, with the fluctuation of the rosters over the course of the season, with ultimately your own injuries plus recalls, that's where you make the difference in making playoffs or not making playoffs. And for us right now, it's just one of those situations where we just got to stay in the mix, and hopefully at some point, and you keep the hope up that your roster will be as complete as possible with returning players, and then you can put stretches of 8 out of 10 together, or 5 or 6 game winning streaks, and that's how it's done at this level. And it's certainly been something I've been doing at it for 8 years now as a head coach, and that's what we're hoping for, and you keep the faith.
Yeah. In the meantime, you've got a big handful of ECHL call-ups right now, and they're starting to chip in now. We saw Matt Boucher score his first last night. Luco got his the other night. Is that kind of an example of them figuring it out after an extended stint here in the AHL?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you climb the ladder in a league, and it's twofold, right? One, they get acclimated to their teammates, the systematic play, and the type of league it is. And then over time whether they can sustain it or not. For me, it's the 10-game mark. So if a guy can sustain, continuity and consistency within the 10 games, and you're still seeing the same thing at that point, then that maybe you got something there. And it's very difficult to judge the first few games, because on recalls to both levels, most players come in with a tremendous amount of energy, and they want to impress the coach, they want to impress their teammates. So usually you get the best right off the hop, and then it's once the monotony of the season and the grind starts to kick in, then you know for sure. So last night we had no problems with the guys that are here on PTOs. I thought the fourth line actually brought energy and had some great shifts. The unfortunate part, they were on for the game winner, which you never want from your fourth line, but they did score a goal as well. And I thought Boucher had energy and brought exactly what we had seen in his earlier call-up, and that's why we brought him back. And I thought Cutler, for a guy that just flew in and arrived at 2 a.m. and no practice time, I thought he did a nice job as well. So those are the type of things you need, and to lose the game last night, we're certainly not going to pin it on any of those type of guys, because I thought they did their part.
Yeah, how rewarding is that from a player development standpoint to see these guys start to figure it out, and what kind of impact does that have on the room as well, that these call-up guys are filling these kind of important roles?
Well, it's about opportunity, right? JBD, goes up, and you need to make a difference. You need to be a difference maker to stay in the lineup. Thompson's up now. Those are the type of situations you see from the NHL, from the American League, and from our perspective, it's the same type of thing. Cutler, Boucher, Betts, Lukasevich. Those type of players are just looking for opportunity, and they need to make the most of it, because you always know at some point, hopefully not too far down the line, you will have your regulars back. The Howerlicks, the Ridley Greggs, the Lodines. These are impact players for us that will be back eventually, and that's going to push people out of the lineup.
A few more minutes here with head coach Troy Mann. I wanted to ask about Scott Sabourin. He's passed the franchise record in penalty minutes for a season in 17 games, and it's an unusual stat to say the least. From your standpoint, how do you kind of look at what he's done? Because when he's on the ice, he's one of the best players on the team.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there's a fine line for Sabby, and sometimes he needs to read the game, read the moment of the game. I certainly didn't like that penalty last night. That was a penalty. You can't grab a guy's jersey and pull him down down in front of the referee, that's going to be a penalty. And the way Sabby plays the game, sometimes he's a little bit more of a target than you would like at times. But he brings everything to the table. Sometimes from a systematic perspective, he drives you crazy. And I guess every player has their strengths and weaknesses. But for us, the strengths far outweigh the weaknesses. And he's a big part of our team. He scored a great goal last night to get us back in the hockey game after we pulled the goalie. And he's an intimidating force out there, and not too many people want to mess with him, right? So, there's a fine line there, and we just got to keep reminding him at times that that's not the place to do that, or hey, let's be a little bit more disciplined. And but a big part of our team and a big part of our identity.
Yeah, it can be tough to walk that line for sure when you play on the edge like he does. Antoine Bibeau had another excellent game after coming in relief of Logan Flodell. But with all that's going on in the goalie department right now, how tough is it to not have Justin Peters around to kind of help those guys through this and give them that kind of focused attention that goaltenders need?
Yeah, it's interesting how that position or coaching position has evolved over time. I started the coaching career without ever seeing a goalie coach, and then all of a sudden you have a goalie coach that comes in once in a while at the American League level, and then all of a sudden becomes a full-time position. So you certainly kind of miss that because there's such individual attention on that position, and it's not an easy position. Obviously there's a lot of pressure in those areas, and sometimes it's you need that one-on-one from your goalie coach. So Ben Sexton's doing dual duties now and doing the best he can in terms of making sure the preparation's up and that. But obviously he'd love to have Petey here, but it's also good for him to get some NHL experience with Zach Burke out for a few days. And to your point, Bibeau was good last night, and it's never easy to come in under those circumstances. And when we were trailing 4-1 and 5-2, you're opening up your game and you're giving up more odd man rushes because you're trying to counter that with some goals of your own, and he made some big saves to keep it there. So, hopefully tonight he can give us another 60 minutes because, again, he's if under normal circumstances he would have started last night and probably played to the back-to-back here, but he's as banged up as some of our other guys, and he's fighting through it, and hopefully we can get a good performance from him tonight.
With that in mind, and assuming there were no other injuries after the game last night, what's the lineup look like tonight, and how do you improve the result compared to last night?
Well, discipline I think would be a huge factor for tonight's game. 2 more 5-on-3 goals against. We're certainly leading the league in goals against on the 5-on-3s, and mind you, that last one was in the empty net, but still, we got to be disciplined, not only with just calls in general, but not putting ourselves behind the 8 ball with 5-on-3s. So that'd be certainly something we need to look at. I think our consistency within our forecheck. I thought when our forecheck was on last night, we spent a tremendous amount of time in OZP and actually scored 2 goals from the forecheck itself. So that's something we need to work on or continue to be consistent at, and just defending overall, and it's easier said than done when you've got PTOs in and you've got the number of roster movements that's going on to be able to defend perfectly on a night-to-night basis. But as I said to the guys, it's a reset button again today. We need some urgency. Get a good meal in you, head home, watch a little soccer, and just prepare for another big night tonight so we can hopefully stay close to 500.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck tonight.
Okay, thanks, Footy.